Now, the Subway Final Word.
Reached out to some pitchers that have had it as he went through a selection process for the doctor. He's a strong young man. He's a smart young man. He's very upbeat going in. I feel real good about how Jameson feels right now. I think that's all I need to say.
Clint Hurdle on the day's big sports story, the loss of Jameson Taillon to Tommy John surgery. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Phillips, and welcome to the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you, the fans, into the conversation. You can get your opinion on TV right here every Sunday night on the Subway Final Word. And let's get started by introducing you to tonight's three panelists. It's a trifecta from the trip. We've got Chris Adamski, Dan Kovacevic, and Alan Robinson in the studio with us tonight. And tonight's big topics, the loss of Jameson Taillon and the biggest surprises from the first week of baseball season, the Pens, and how important it is to go into the playoffs with momentum. We'll talk childbirth, and the controversy of sports paternity leave and the Steelers' priorities after a busy free agency period. We start with the news breaking today. Jameson Taillon, the top pitching prospect many hoped would be the Garrett Cole of this season. Does his loss affect the Pirates' playoff chances? Chris, you're up first.
Well, this is the guy who's not even on the roster right now as we speak. Now, everybody expected him to be a roster. He surely would have been on the roster. He surely would have been at least a middle-of-the-rotation type presence for you, and maybe even better than that from what we saw from Garrett Cole last year. But it really kind of depends. The depth is what's going to hurt you here in the long run. You're really now, it's a little more pressure on Edison Volquez to be the kind of starter that you need him to be. It's a little more pressure on maybe a Jeff Locke. Now you have guys like a Compton or a Phil Irwin, somebody like that you might need because you know there's going to be some kind of injury at some point. That sort of attrition is going to hurt more than maybe than what you can kind of, because you couldn't really pencil in something. He's still a kid. He still wasn't, you couldn't expect him to be what you probably will be, though.
Dan?
You know, where I look at Jameson Taillon has nothing to do with 2014. I look at Jameson Taillon as being such a huge part of the Pirates' future. That's the reason they didn't trade him when they had chances to bring in major league guys, because you can't get those guys if you're a team like Pittsburgh in free agency. If the Pirates got lucky anywhere, and I'm not being callous about the injury itself, it's that Taillon was hurt before coming to the majors. Now this won't cost him his service time. They will still have him for the full 6 years of service time before he can become a free agency from the moment he comes up. That's really important here. I think Taillon's a tough kid. He's a really smart kid. I think Pittsburgh's really going to like him, and he will be here.
Alan?
You kind of wondered during the offseason if they were quiet on the pitching front in terms of acquiring anybody, because they figured that Taillon was going to come up in the middle of the season and be like Garrett Cole was.
Oh, absolutely, Alan. Yep.
Yeah, and obviously he's got the repertoire. There was absolutely no sign whatsoever that he wasn't going to be very good. But there's just one word of caution about this. I mean, there's tons of guys in the major leagues that have come back from Tommy John at a very young time in their career. But also, it's not flawless and it's not foolproof. There have been major league pitchers that have had this that never came back. Kerry Wood, Darren Dreifert signed a $55 million contract with the Dodgers, immediately got Tommy John and only won 5 more games the rest of his career. And if you'll remember back in the late 90s, the Pirates were counting on Chris Benson just the way these Pirates are Jameson Taillon, and he was done in by Tommy John just as much as he was by Anna Benson.
You did all that just for the Anna Benson reference, right? You know, Jameson Taillon's going to be fine. I think that from what I've understand from baseball people over the years, the Tommy John procedure has gotten more solid, more consistent. Guys come back. Charlie Morton came back with no incident. We watched Adam Wainwright pitch today. He's come back. Alan's right. It's not a done deal that he's going to be 100%, but it never is with a pitcher. You just never know.
There's almost a feeling that you come back stronger now, it seems like. That's almost to be the consensus.
That's what Charlie Morton says. Yep.
7 pitchers on the Pirates have gone through the surgery. Jason Curley is one of those. He says they've almost perfected the surgery. We'll have to wait and see. A reminder to keep the comments coming. You can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word, on Facebook at The Final Word. Bucks Cannonball says too early to say if it hurts playoff chances, but I'm sure it's a huge blow to their plans. Hashtag next man up. Thank you for that tweet. Now our second topic, the Pirates are 4-2 in their first 2 series. Our second topic after 1 week, what's the most surprising part of the Pirates' success? Dan, we start with you.
I'd have to say that early on it's been Travis Ishikawa for me. This is a guy who he probably shouldn't have surprised me because when I was down in Bradenton with the Pirates, he's one of the guys that a lot of them were talking about, including his teammates. They liked his consistency, his simple swing that he has, and yeah, the power that we saw this week with the home run. He's a guy who has always had some potential. When he was with San Francisco, he was telling me yesterday he tried to swing too hard, to swing out of his shoes sometimes because of how far away that right field wall is. He's playing within himself right now. And you know what? The Pirates see it too because they're giving him every chance to take that job ahead of Gabby Sanchez.
Alan?
I've seen the Pirates for a long time, dating back to the early 60s. This is the best-looking Pirate team I've seen early in the season in terms of professionalism, the way they conduct themselves, and the way they act like they're going to win games, probably since those three teams in the early 1990s. But also, we want to be a little bit cautionary here. They're not hitting right now, and you can't really read anything into the first week of April. But they don't have a regular even hitting .310. And they've got 5 guys in this lineup right now hitting .217. Again, it's a very, very small sample size, but you just can't read too much into early April, despite all the encouraging signs. The best-looking Pirate team I ever saw coming out of the gate was the 1993 team, post Bonds, post Smiley, post Draybeck, post Bonilla. They went 7-2 and looked great with Al Martin and Kevin Young, and we know how that turned out.
Alan, I was waiting for you to drop in another Anna Benson reference. I figured you were going to get that in somewhere. Chris?
You know, again, of course, we're talking to the sample size. We have to always preface it with that, and it's sort of funny to point this out, though. But how about Edinson Volquez outperforming A.J. Burnett? Look, today they both pitched 5 2/3 innings. Burnett, of course, for the Phillies, and Volquez for the Pirates. Burnett had 11 base runners, including 6 walks, allowed 8 runs. Edinson Volquez allowed 4 base runners, 1 run, and got the win. We'll see.
Yeah, so you're saying Volquez is going to have a better season than Burnett?
Vindication for the offseason. There you go. It's all you need to know is after 1 week, he's been better than A.J. Burnett.
There you go. Thank you very much, gentlemen. The Pirates are now on a 9-game road trip starting on Tuesday in Chicago. We're talking Penguins next. They're not playing their best hockey heading into the playoffs. Does it matter how they perform in the remaining games with nothing to play for? Harvard Player says main goal for the Pens is getting prepared for a long playoff run with Bilesma hopefully being able to finally make adjustments. The panel debates the Pens next.